The cargo bay of the Wandering Star smelled like ozone and recycled air. But to Lyra Vale, it smelled like freedom. She was tightening the fuel coupling on her ship's port thruster when she heard a sound that didn't belong. A whimper, soft, broken, barely audible over the hum of the station's life support systems. Lyra straightened, wiping grease from her hands onto her already stained coveralls. Her eyes scanned the dimly lit docking bay. Nothing. Then she heard it again, coming from behind a stack of supply crates near the airlock. She approached cautiously, one hand resting on the plasma cutter at her hip. Pirates weren't uncommon in the outer reaches, and neither were scavengers looking for an easy mark. But when she rounded the corner, she found neither. Instead, she found a cub. It was Krevnari. She recognized the species immediately. Bipedal, covered in mottled gray fur, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed faintly amber in the low light. But this one was small, barely reaching her waist, and its fur was matted with dirt and what looked like dried blood. One of its lower arms hung limp at its side. The cub's eyes locked onto hers, wide with fear and something else. Shame, perhaps. It tried to scramble backward, but winced, collapsing against the crates. "Easy," Lyra said, raising her hands slowly. "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to hurt you." The cub bared its teeth, a pitiful attempt at intimidation. Its voice came out raspy, the translator chip embedded in its throat glitching. "Stay. Back. I am Krevnari. I am dangerous." Lyra almost laughed, but the look in the cub's eyes stopped her. This wasn't bravado. This was desperation. "What's your name?" she asked gently, crouching down to his level. The cub hesitated, then looked away. "Tovik. Tovik," Lyra repeated. "I'm Lyra. What happened to you?" For a long moment, Tovik said nothing. Then, haltingly, the story came out. He had been part of a pack, a Krevnari hunting crew that roamed the stations and colonies of the outer reaches. They were strong, feared, respected, but Tovik had failed. During a raid on a smuggler's vessel, he had hesitated. He had seen the fear in the smuggler's eyes, the way the man clutched a photo of his family. And Tovik had frozen. The pack leader, his own uncle, had seen it. Weakness, he called it. Dishonor. The pack had turned on Tovik, casting him out. In their culture, a cub rebuffed by its pack was nothing. Less than nothing. He was expected to die alone. Unmourned. "They left me here," Tovik finished, his voice barely a whisper. "Said I was not worthy to hunt. Not worthy to live." Lyra felt something twist in her chest. She had seen enough cruelty in the galaxy to know that different species had different codes, different values. But this was just wrong. "Your defeat," she said quietly. Tovik flinched as if she had struck him. "Yes, my defeat." Lyra stood, brushing the dust from her knees. "Good." Tovik's eyes snapped up to hers, confusion replacing the shame. "What?" "Your defeat," Lyra repeated, extending a hand toward him. "Means you're smart enough to question orders. Brave enough to feel something other than bloodlust. That's not weakness, kid. That's humanity." "I am not human," Tovik said, staring at her hand as if it were a foreign object. "No," Lyra agreed. "But you've got something a lot of humans don't. Compassion. And in this galaxy, that's worth more than all the teeth and claws in the universe." Tovik hesitated. His good hand trembled as he reached out, his claws retracting instinctively. Lyra grasped it firmly, pulling him to his feet. He swayed, unsteady. But she steadied him. "Come on," she said. "Let's get you patched up." The medical bay of the Wandering Star was barely large enough for 2 people, but Lyra made it work. She cleaned Tovik's wounds, splinted his broken arm, and gave him a nutrient pack. He ate ravenously, as if he hadn't seen food in days. He probably hadn't. "Where will you take me?" Tovik asked between bites, his voice still wary. "Nowhere," Lyra said, sealing the med kit. "You're staying here." Tovik froze. "Staying? You mean on your ship? Unless you've got a better offer." But I am nothing. Cast out. I cannot hunt. I cannot fight. What use am I to you? Lyra leaned against the wall, crossing her arms. You can learn. You're young. And you're smart. I need someone to help with repairs. Keep the ship running. Watch my back. And you need a place where no one's going to call you weak for having a conscience. Tovik stared at her, his amber eyes glistening. Why? Why would you do this? Lyra sighed, looking away. Because a long time ago, someone did the same for me. I was young, stupid, and running from people who said I'd never amount to anything. A smuggler named Cade found me on a backwater moon. Half-starved and ready to give up, he gave me a job, taught me how to fly, and told me that the only person who gets to decide my worth is me. She met Tovik's eyes again. So now I'm passing it on. You're not broken, Tovik. You're just in the wrong pack. Tovik's lower lip trembled. In the Krivnari culture, showing emotion was forbidden, a sign of weakness. But here, alone with this strange human, he let himself feel. A single tear rolled down his furred cheek. I will not fail you, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I know, Lyra said simply. Now get some rest. Tomorrow, I'm teaching you how to rewire a hyperdrive conduit. 3 months later, the Wandering Star docked at Outpost Zenith for supplies. Lyra and Tovik walked through the crowded market together. The cub now moving with confidence. His splint long gone. He had grown in that time, not just physically, but in spirit. He laughed more, questioned more, and worked harder than anyone Lyra had ever met. As they passed a group of Krevnari hunters, Tovik tensed. One of them, a scarred warrior with cold eyes, looked directly at him. It was his uncle. Tovik, the warrior said, his voice dripping with contempt. Still alive? Clinging to a human like a parasite? Tovik opened his mouth, but Lyra stepped forward before he could speak. He's not clinging, she said calmly. He's thriving. And last I checked, parasites don't rebuild entire engine cores or navigate through asteroid fields, so unless you've got something useful to say, move along. The warrior's eyes narrowed. You coddle weakness. Human. You will regret it. Lyra smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Weakness? No. I invest in potential. Something you clearly wouldn't recognize if it bit you. The warrior growled but said nothing more. He and his pack moved on, disappearing into the crowd. Tovik looked at Lyra, his eyes wide. You stood up to him. Of course I did, Lyra said, ruffling the fur on his head. You're crew now, and on my ship, we don't abandon our own. Tovik smiled a genuine, unguarded smile. Thank you, Captain. Lyra grinned. Come on, kid. Let's get those supplies and get out of here. We've got a delivery to make, and I'm not missing it because of some washed-up hunters. As they walked away together, Tovik realized something. He had been cast out by his pack. Yes, but he had found something better. He had found a family, and in the cold, unforgiving expanse of the galaxy, that was worth more than all the honor his old pack could ever claim.